Welcome to Agents of the Brokerage podcast. I am your host, Todd, back, and today our guest is Karen Deprey. Karen, how are you doing?
I'm great. Glad to be here.
Are you ready to do this?
I'm going to try.
Here we go. Now, before we get going, quick story about Karen that I told her this recently is that at my first big L-Bar meeting, Karen was making some comments about something that was going on in the board. And I was brand new to the business. And when I left, I remember thinking, who is that person? Because she is a badass. And they said, oh, that's Karen Deprey. And I was like, I listen when she speaks. So Karen, I'm very excited to get into the podcast with you. And why don't you give our audience just a quick intro to your story and we'll go from there.
Okay. I was born in I was born in Canada. I'm from northern Maine. Didn't learn how to speak English till I was about 7 years old. So I had a French dialect all the way through high school. And now I'm told that I have a Kentucky dialect.
There we go.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was it about real estate, or how did you get into real estate?
I've always been self-employed, had a company that I sold in 2005 and sat there and was bored. We had just moved to Lexington. And I sold a condo that we had bought in Florida. We bought it for $34,000 a couple years before that. And then the market was really good. So I did a FSBO and sold it for $115,000. It was about 400 square feet. And my mother looked at me and she said, "You're so smart. You should do this." And then I thought, well, okay, I don't know what else to do, so I'll go through it, which is what I did and got my license in 2006.
So 2006, newly licensed.
July 1st,
Wow.
when the market started crashing.
Oh, wonderful.
But I didn't know.
That's a great time to get into it.
Oh,
So
that's great.
that's perfect. And well, okay, so now you've been in real estate for
Be
13 years here shortly. So
Right.
what is your favorite aspect of being a realtor?
I love the listings because there are some of the bigger challenges, and the more difficult, the better. I mean, back when I started, it was short sales. So now it seems easy just to list a regular house, overpriced or whatever.
Yeah, I love that. That's all. Now, okay, if that's your favorite, then what's your least favorite aspect of being a real estate agent right now?
Sometimes it's listing the house. It depends. It depends what's going on. It depends what's going on with you personally, too. It's not just about the product that you're selling. Depends what's going on in the economy. So, you can't really say you dislike one thing over the other.
I just want to go a little deeper with that.
That happened yesterday. And so,
Thank you.
having done a lot of sales downtown, a lot of these people were my friends because when I started, I didn't know anybody. And so one of them, the husband, was asking me a lot of questions and wanted to meet to review the pictures after I'd spent 3 hours cropping the pictures. And I said, I just, after texting back and forth, I picked up the phone and I said, "You're just killing me." And I said, "I've learned over the years that you have to tell me how you work. And it sounds like you're really detailed and you need to know everything. You're kind of like me, but now you're killing me. So how am I going to make this happen?" And just that quick conversation made it okay with him. Within 5 minutes, we were on board. In the past, 13 years ago, there's no way I would have had the ability, the confidence to make those calls.
Right. And isn't that something too, like with all the technology that is being imposed on us by the powers that be in the real estate world,
Right.
But it's a people business. It's a conversational business. And that's why I know is one of your strong suits is just being able to talk to people,
Right.
and the art of the conversation. And that's a real thing.
Well, and you learn when you first meet people. The biggest thing that I've learned to tell people is there are two things about me. The good thing is that I'm honest. The bad thing is that I'm honest. Now, it doesn't work with everybody. And I just default to the fact that I grew up in New England and, we're so honest in New England.
There you go.
And so, I think a transplant can say that here.
There we go. I love that.
Yeah.
When you said that to our office, I loved it. And I love it now. That's perfect. So you've been in business 13 years, You're very successful, top producing realtor probably since '06, I would say. Yeah. And so what is it that keeps you in this business? Because you could be very successful in a number of things. So what is it with all the changes in real estate? Like, what keeps you here?
When I see technology moving forward, and I see some of the newer agents that all they do is use technology, I default back to just the one-on-one and having those conversations with people. I always think about what is it that I would like. I mean, I didn't buy real estate till I was 38 after I'd moved to Kentucky. So it's a big thing. You always, even if you're successful, you have to remember that somebody's got to buy a $40,000, $50,000 house, and that is all that they own. They're scared. So I handhold. And I go back to how I was brought up. I mean, our house was 800 square feet. Mom and Dad both worked 2 jobs. So those humble beginnings have really helped me put things in perspective now. So it's not about the money. It really isn't. It's about my relationships with some of the clients that I've had.
That's awesome. I love that. Love it. And so one question I always like asking is, with your career, okay, if you could go back to 2006 Karen and say, hey, you probably need to know this, or what would be that one piece of advice you'd give to yourself in '06 that you know now?
This actually more self-care, and my background's in healthcare. And I think that if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to burn up, you're going to get cocky, you're going to forget why you even started. And so for me, last year was the year that I took a little bit more time off for myself. And, that people ask you, how you've changed. Well, you change only when you slow down long enough to be able to change. And so, it would be going back to what I would tell my clients when I had a healthcare business, to slow down and, de-stress. So
that's I think that is so crucial. And it's something that it's funny. I got my license in '06 as well. And so I've been kind of in the business the same amount of time period that you have. And that's something I'm learning even like now. And I love hearing you say that, because it is so important that we have to hit that recharge button, because you can only go full bore for so long before it starts impacting other parts of your life. And then you just have to wonder, is this worth it?
Right.
And I think the big picture perspective is, for me at least, is like, no, like you have to recharge. There's other things, out there that we need to focus our effort and our attention to.
Right.
But I'd like to hear you talk. I want to hear more from you about that, about the whole recharge and how that's like evolved for you.
Well, my background, as I said, is in healthcare. I'm a licensed dietitian by training, and I was a massage therapist and did a lot of work with hospice. And so when I was in that business, self-care was really important, mind, body, spirit. And then I got into real estate, and there was no time. The only way, and because I didn't know anybody, I jumped right in. When I started, they told me that I should probably select another career, simply because I only knew 2 people. And that just meant to me that I had to prove to everybody to myself, more than anybody. It's always about me, proving to myself that I couldn't make this happen. But I didn't pay attention to myself and my relationship and, all those things. So last year I hit a wall. Yep. And I had accomplished all my financial goals, but I didn't accomplish the other goals. And so, I'm about to turn 59. I'm like, whoa, okay. I might have another 30 years here, so let me have fun. And I didn't know what fun was. So, except for the last couple trips that I've taken.
Good. And we're going to get into those shortly. But Karen, I love that advice. And I hope our audience listens to that and just really, takes that message home, because I think it's so important. I think it's so important. Okay. Back to your career. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to hear this, because I really want to know memorable moments in your real estate career. Is there one you would like to share with us? And it could be anything, just something that always sticks out in your head as like, wow, this happened.
Well, there's a few. One of them, I had a client when the market was tanking. This poor man had a ton of commercial property. And so I had a contract on one of his properties. But because the sheriffs were looking for him, because he had filed there were liens, bankruptcies, and everything, I couldn't get him to sign off on the contract. Uh-oh. So I called his secretary and I said, I'm taking you out to lunch. So we went out to lunch. And then she said, well, you can drop me off at the office. And I said, no. Like, why? I said, because I need this contract signed.
Oh, my.
And you're the only person that knows where this guy is. So I kept her in the car. We drove to this guy's house. It was 2:00 in the afternoon. He had his jammies on, and he was like, what are you doing here? I'm like, sign this, and then I'll be out of your life.
I love that. Did he sign it?
He signed it, and we closed about a month later. We negotiated like 15 liens. We were able to do it. I had no clue, back then, but I learned quickly.
Wow.
How to deal with
that. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Savvy move, even then. Savvy. So I know that when I hear downtown historical properties, you are the first person I think of. I think you are the expert in Central Kentucky. I think you're the best of the best with that. And so how did you get into that niche? Because that is, for I'd say 99.9% of agents, they really have no idea how to navigate some of those things, and you're the best at it. And so how did you get into that? I'm dying to know.
Well, we had bought a house in the early 2000s downtown. And when I started real estate, I just joined the neighborhood association. And I didn't know anything about houses. Now, if you can ask me about the body, then I can help you. But the houses, I didn't know. And I just volunteered and spent time going to meet people who were renovating houses and learning all about it. And then there was back then, and there still is, another agent. But I think because I was so passionate about it, I started studying or learning more about the history of the houses. And that's when you start saying, you know what, this is so special to be living here. It's a community where people care about keeping history alive. Mm-hmm. And so that was my emotional connection to it. And then I just, I was 150% right into it.
That's awesome. And I think your passion always shines through whenever I hear you speak about your listings or anything that's down in that district. It's like you're the go-to. And I just love it. Like when people are passionate about anything, it always takes them to the next level.
Right.
And that's cool. I didn't know.
Well, and you also have to be good about learning to go in those basements, because some of them are still dirt. You have to be able to go in the crawl spaces. And so I'm the type of agent that will have some old clothes in the back of my car, and I'll crawl through it, because if you don't know anything about that house, how are you going to sell it? You're going to wait till inspection, and then you get all these surprises.
Surprise. Yeah.
So no, I teach new agents, you got to go in the basement in the crawl space.
Oh my goodness. I'm calling you if I need help. So I want to know this too about you. So what are some of your favorite places? Because you've seen Lexington evolve from especially where you were in the downtown area in 2000, and now we're almost 20 years later, and my goodness, like how it's changed. And so what are some of your, favorite places to hang out or to just around Lexington, Central Kentucky, downtown? Just like what are your spots?
Well, it used to be in the beginning, we would go to Cheapside because there were probably about, 30 of us there.
Yes.
And then, on Jefferson, Grey Goose was the first place. And so that's where we hung out. In fact, we had a neighbor that would, when it started getting popular, she would go up to the table and say, "Are you 4502 or '08?" And if you're '02, that's my table. We just felt really excited about the fact as a community that it was evolving. Unfortunately, being so busy, I didn't do anything. I mean, I would work. I would buy gift certificates from Wine and Market if they bought downtown, did those things.
Yep.
And then I'd go home and get ready for the next day. So, I tend to go to small places. Like, I still like Winchells.
Beautiful. Love it.
Jalapeno grits.
Yes.
I love it. My new favorite Mexican is Papis on Euclid.
Yes.
Because the guy that opened that was my waiter at Jalapenos on South Broadway. And I'm excited to support people who work hard.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'll go.
I love that. And that at Papis, that the owner, you can tell his passion for what he does. And we've eaten there a few times and I love it. So if we're ever down there, that's one of our spots as well.
Right.
So I want to let the audience know that this was probably back in, I don't know, October, November, December maybe. And Karen sends me a text message that says they're getting ready to go on a trip, and behind her is a giant RV, and I'm not talking about like a little RV. I mean, this is a full blown like family vacation RV. And I asked, what are you doing? And she said, we're going out west. And most people, when they say go out west, you think they're going to fly out there. And she said, nope, that's not what we're doing. So vacation spots, I'd love it if you could kind of explain what y'all are doing now and how you got into the RV thing and just go into that. Like, I'm all ears.
Okay. So the RV thing, 3 years ago, we decided we were going to go camping, that we worked too much. So we have a tent and we go camping, and then we come back and we buy cots for the tent because we didn't like sleeping on the ground. So then we came back and decided to do a third time. But this time, it gets bigger and bigger. And we get home, and my better half, Terry, says, "You know what? We're not doing this anymore. I don't like it. We're staying home." So fast forward a few months later, I get a call going, "I was looking at this RV. It's really cool." And I said, "Well, when you get home, we'll talk about it." She gets home and says, "Do you want to go in half with me?" And I went, "With what?" "Well, I bought a 26-foot RV.
Whoa.
Surprise. Like, "Where is it?" "Well, we're going to drive there tomorrow in Indiana, and we're going to go pick it up." I'm like, "We don't know how to drive it." "Well, we'll learn on the way back."
Oh, my.
So we go through the hills and we drive the RV. I'm behind in my Jeep looking at the RV. So you've got to learn. You've got to learn how to, the electricity, the hoses. I get the sewer line. That's my job. But it's been an incredible adventure. A couple years ago, we went to Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
You're supposed to check out the weather. We went September because we thought there won't be as many kids. We can hang out by the ocean.
Yep.
Hurricane warning.
Oh, boy.
Everybody packs up and leaves. We had 3 days at the campground, and for 3 days, the family kept calling, going, "When are you going to leave? It's going to be a bad hurricane. It's going to be a bad hurricane."
We're not going.
And then this year, we went to Palm Springs, and in 4 days, we drove through Flagstaff. When they have those, if your brakes fail, pull over to the side. I'm driving. I'm the better driver.
Oh, no.
So I have the booster seat, and I'm driving. 2,200 miles later, we made it, and then we came back.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that adventure? That had to be. Is that your longest trip so far?
Yeah, it is. I didn't want to do it in the beginning, and now I love it. I mean, I could be a school bus driver if I had to. I can back it up.
Yeah,
and you should see the 18-wheelers on the highway, and they look at me, and they see this woman just driving.
yeah, they
freak out.
They do the double take.
They
right?
do the double take.
Well, what's your favorite? What's your favorite vacation spot? Is it out west, or is there what's kind of your?
It is. I mean, I love the mountains, but this year we're gonna drive to New England. We're gonna go see my family in northern Maine. And the good thing about that is that we can stop and we can eat lobster every day. We can just, have a great time. But I love the ocean. It's really serene. But I also love the mountains because they're just quiet and very majestic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so when I heard about that trip, I was very jealous. I was like, I bet you get to see so many interesting things and just kind of, just put you in that really good place where you can just kind of do some thinking and just kind of recollect and love it. Mm-hmm. So and maybe it's one of these places. What's a place that you wish more people knew about, either around town or places that you've been where, because I feel like we all kind of have our spots, and you're just like, I wish more people knew about this.
Well, I did my undergrad in Nova Scotia.
Oh boy.
And I'm Canadian born. So actually that's a province, all of those Canadian provinces. But in order to do that, I would recommend going through New England. And we did buy real estate there.
Did you?
We were going to buy 2 acres 15 years ago, but we ended up buying 26.
You still have it?
No, it sat on the market for 14 years.
Oh.
I just sold it.
Oh,
I was trying to give it away.
You're just waiting for that appreciation to kick in.
It didn't.
Right?
It didn't. No. So
love it. Well, as we wind down here, 2 more questions. So the first one is, what is it what's something that people don't know about you that you think would surprise people?
My first language is French Canadian.
Oh.
And I still think that way. So if they hear me say words and grammatically it's incorrect, sorry.
That's
Let's see. I did my thesis on tofu.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. I love meat.
Okay.
I'm about to cook a prime rib. No, I mean, I'm just kind of quirky. I had my Birkenstock days.
Yes.
And I love an adventure. I love people challenging me. I love to be accountable. I think we take ourselves too seriously. So
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Well, Karen, what this is the big question we do at the end, and you can take it whichever way you would like.
Right.
But that is because you mentioned it before, that doing what we do in real estate, it's if people start chasing the wrong thing, eventually it just is not going to last. And you've been in this business 13 years. You're a consistent top producer. Your clients love you. I think the real estate community really respects you. And what is your why in doing your business? Like, why are you doing it? Like, what's at the heart of it?
My why now is different than my why was back then.
See, I love that. Yeah.
My why back then was about surviving. I had just sold a small company that I had started 18 years before. And what I sold it for was a lot less than what I thought I should get, which is kind of like real estate. My house is worth more than your house.
Of course.
So back then it was about learning the business. It was also about making money and, exploring. And so, but my why now is really after watching people work so hard, and I still love making money. I still love being on the boards and being the top producer. However, I want to learn a little bit more what makes Karen tick. And I have forgotten that. I think we all do. We put everything in front of ourselves, and then we go, oh, wow, do I still like to ride a bike? Do I still like to read? Are there other things? I mean, I picked up pickleball this year.
Oh,
which is,
That's
it is big. I've never played a racket sport, so that's funny. And, I've never really done team sports. So now my big why is about working with newer agents, helping them out, teaching them what not to do. Also allowing myself to not be always the top producer, but doing quality work.
I love that.
And, doing it for the clients. So
love that.
Yeah.
Golly. There's so many things I want to unpack there. But the first is how your why can evolve as you do. Because as you grow, you're going to, that's going to change.
That's right.
Or at least I think it should change.
Right, because it's a road. I mean, you never know what obstacles you'll meet. You'll never know. People say, well, you get to a cliff, you got to turn around. Well, you have a choice of falling off the cliff or turning around. And I think the more mistakes you make, I think that's great. People just beat themselves up when they make mistakes. Don't. Good God. I mean, learn from it.
That's right. I love it. That is such wise advice.
Oh, I'm sounding old.
No. Keep it going. I just want to listen. And the other part, I love what you said there about doing the quality work. And that's something that I really, I follow Seth Godin a lot, and he is a champion for doing quality work for people like you, like that matters, and like that. And if somebody doesn't, respect that work, then it's not for them. And you move on to somebody that it's for. And I think it's a different mindset that you shift into, because I don't think people understand that initially, and it's kind of something that kind of has to be learned. And you want to hold yourself to a higher standard, and that like this is the way you do it, and this is why you do it this way, and that's probably because your clients they love the way that you do it, and that's why they're working with you. So
not everybody does.
Exactly.
You have to find what fits right for you, and you won't find that until you try.
Yes.
So
love it.
Yeah.
Karen, any final words before we end the podcast?
No, I'm just excited to be here. I love it here.
Well, I tell you what, for myself, I am feeling kind of selfish because you were one of the first persons that I asked to be on here. I really respect you. I love it when you speak and you talk really about anything, because I always know there's going to be something behind it. And I just want to thank you for everything that you do in the community. I love that you're here at the brokerage, and thank you for everything.
You're welcome. I'll be like your favorite aunt. I'll always be honest.
There we go. I love it. Well, guys, you can get this on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, anywhere you can get podcasts. We will be there. Agents of the Brokerage Podcast. I am Todd Back. She's Karen Deprey. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Thank you. That was fun.
That was good.
That was fun.
See what I mean?